So I see a lot of friends and old work colleagues on Facebook, Instagram now, and I see a lot of them are working really hard, which is awesome. But I can also see that they're not getting a lot back in return. Their ROI on their time invested is not great, and I can see that they're grinding for crumbs, essentially. And that's obviously not where you want to be. And I guess that's not where I ever wanted to be. And I guess the idea of this kind of video is that I want to sort of just share or impart some ideas and tips that I used sort of to get myself out of that job. And that job was actually welding bull bars, and that's where I see a lot of old work colleagues on social media. And maybe they don't do it anymore, but I can see maybe they're doing something similar. And number one thing I've got here is working hard, working versus working smart. And it's all about like what you're working on. So you could be working really, really hard, but you're working on the wrong thing. I've mentioned this before in videos that I've done, but it is so crucial. Like if you're working on, you're going in this direction, you're working really hard, but it was on the wrong thing or the wrong thing for you, then all that time is being wasted. You're spending it on the wrong thing. All that time, all that grinding, all that effort is not going where it's going to be, where you're going to get the best results. So if that's the case, obviously you need to try things. You need to try something to know if it's right or wrong anyway. But depending on how far you go down that road, it can be detrimental to your time invested, your ROI. So just be really sort of diligent as to how that time's getting spent. Number two I've got here is prioritize skills that increase income, not the hours worked. So if you are in a job, you can't necessarily control how many hours you're working, but outside of work, those hours, what can you do to really sort of multiply them to a larger degree? So can you start a side hustle, or I hate that kind of term, but can you start something where eventually there's going to be a bigger payoff? It doesn't have to be a huge payoff. You don't have to win the lottery. It doesn't have to be anything like that, but where you can have more leverage. And that brings me into number three is leverage time instead of trading it for dollars. So for me, I reckon if I was to get a personalized number plate, one of my ideas would be the word leverage, or some kind of abbreviation of it would be leverage, because I'm always trying to think, how can I leverage my time, how can I leverage my money and get more from it, get more efficiency from it, get more money out of it, more fun, joy, whatever. And so how can you leverage the time you've got? How can you leverage what you have? How can you leverage the things that you do? What's going on with my camera there? How can you leverage everything you've got? All the resources you currently have, how can you leverage it? How can you get more from it? Number four I've got here is the 80-20 rule, which I've talked about a million times, and prioritizing like high impact tasks to get results. So 80-20 everything, 80-20 Pareto principle. I'll briefly say what it is. You'll often find in your life that 80% of what you get, what you receive, the results, is a direct impact from 20% of the things you do. So 20%, let's say 20% of your workout that you might do, if you go to the gym, there's probably 20% of the reps, 20% of the sets, 20% of the exercises that are giving you the best result, or are giving you the most result. And most, I mean approximately 80%. You can apply that to your business. 80% of the things, 80% of the money you're making might come from 20% of the things you do. It might be running ads, might be the products that you have, the services that you're delivering. And you can break it down. You can keep going further and further. And I've utilized this so many times in my life and just constantly keep applying it to my life. And often you can apply the 80-20 to the 80-20 and just keep going and that kind of goes back to leverage. You just keep leveraging your time more and more, leveraging your money, and that's kind of, how I sort of think about it. Number 5, be productive. Super simple one. It's very practical. This one is kind of how I think of this to myself, is I constantly try to overburden myself, take on too much, and just put too many things on my plate. Now, at times, I have a lot of time. I have a lot of spare time where I can go down rabbit holes, research things, research business ideas, research fitness, research travel, research how I want to design my life, whatever. Other times, I have too much going on, too many things, but it forces me to be creative with my time. It forces me to be, to be more productive, I guess. I've got here, do things faster. Just get used to doing things faster. When I was a welder at my job, I was, a lot of it was performance-based. You still got paid, but a lot of it was performance-based. And I would always be walking from, one place to another fast. I was never dawdling. I was always just on a mission to get from this place to another place. And a lot of guys, you can tell by their cadence or how they walk, they're in no rush to get anywhere. And I think that's a pretty sort of bad mistake. You don't look like you have confidence. You don't look like you're a man that's to be reckoned with. And I think just do things faster. Just get used to doing things faster. I would see it at my job a lot in other employees. There was no urgency to what they did. There was no urgency to getting things done. And they were just trying to get through the day, get through their 8 hours and go home and drink some beer, I don't think that's a great place to be. I've also got Parkinson's law. Basically, whatever amount of time you give a task, that's how much it will take you to complete. And people will scoff at it, but it's relatively true. If you give yourself 3 weeks to get something done, it'll take 3 weeks. If you force yourself and put a large constraint on that time and you say, okay, I've only got 5 days to do it, you start thinking differently. You start sort of thinking more creatively. All right, how on earth could I get this done? How could I get this done in this sort of amount of time? So I think it's got a lot of merit, that. Lastly, I've got here is no productivity app is going to save you. And I see ads all the time for these new apps, this new software. It's gonna recreate your calendar. It's gonna save you so much time. Look, if you're not someone that does all of the above, overburdens yourself, puts too much on your plate, so you think better, you think faster, you move faster, you do things quicker, you give yourself constraints on your time, so you are forced to do things quicker. If you don't do any of those things, then no app is going to make your life any easier or any better, because you're already an unproductive person, okay? So do all those things before you even look at some app that you think is going to change your life. And lastly, I've got here is be aware that there are trade-offs. Okay, so if you are currently a grinder and you're grinding, excellent, awesome, good on you. That's what you need to be doing. And if you are, know that there are trade-offs to that. There are trade-offs to that you have to spend so much time doing it to get a return that may be years away. And that's kind of one of the depressing things at times, especially with business or, like working on your fitness, is that it can take a long time to see results. And that's, you just got to have a long-term approach, a long-term view of your life and things like that. And just be aware that there are those trade-offs. Time, it's either time, money, health, Yeah, mostly those ones, but time and money especially. So yeah, if you're currently grinding for crumbs and you don't want to be grinding for crumbs for the rest of your life, and you see other people like that, or you know you're like that, but you don't want to be doing that, just do those things I said above. Start working on things where you have more leverage over your time, and all the other stuff. I won't keep repeating myself. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So I hope that video helps you in some way. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, go watch my old videos and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.